Good morning, dear friends from Russia. My name is Hector Chen, support manager from Vinchin. Thank you all for your time to be here with us and for the Vector Group and Vinchin joint webinar. And it's our honor to be here with you and wish you guys have a good time together with us. And okay, so here's the plan for today's meeting. I will first briefly give you an overview of Vinchin Backup and Recovery. Then I will introduce some basic concepts of the deployment scenarios, Vinchin Backup strategies, Veeam recovery strategies, file and application backup, and some advanced features. After that, I will show you some comparison of Vinchin with some of our main competitors. And the last part, my colleague Neil will make a live demonstration of Vinchin software. First, I will make an introduction of Vinchin Backup and Recovery. Vinchin Backup and Recovery is an innovative backup solution which supports up to 12 mainstream virtual platforms, including VMware vSphere, Microsoft Hyper-V, Overt, Arch-V, OLVM, Citrix Xen Server, XCP-G, ZStack Cloud, Huawei Fusion Compute, and so on. And we are a technology partner with VMware, Citrix, Red Hat, Oracle, and also Vinchin Backup and Recovery is recognized as VMware Ready, Citrix Ready. We are also the very first recognized backup solution for Overt, the first Chinese backup solution for XCP-G, and the only certified Chinese backup vendor listed in the Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager ISV. Vinchin's virtual machine backup for these virtualizations are all image-based agentless backup, which means users don't have to install any agent on the guest OS of the virtual platforms, which makes the virtual machine backup easy and reliable. Here are some of our advantages. I'd like to emphasize two key points. The super fast recovery. With Vinchin's instant restore functionality, a virtual machine in any size can be restored back online within 1 minute. It can minimize the downtime of the business critical operations and guarantees your business continuity. The second one, all-in-one management. No matter for a small-sized or large-sized Vinchin backup infrastructure deployment, so the whole backup infrastructure can be configured and managed within a single user-friendly web console. There's totally no learning curve of using Vinchin Backup and Recovery. Vinchin currently has more than 10,000 users from over 100 countries all over the world. And these customers are from various industries like education, telecommunications, medical and healthcare, banking, financial, and also scientific research institutions, cloud computing services providers, and many other industries. And according to the incomplete statistics, currently Vinchin Backup and Recovery has more than 1.6 million virtual machines protected worldwide, and the number is still growing. Here, I'd like to share some of the Vinchin customer stories. First customer I'd like to share is PetroChina. a Forbes Globe 2014 Globe 500 top ranking company, the largest oil and gas producer in Asia. Their Southwest branch runs its IT infrastructure on VMware vSphere. Within the VMware virtual platform, they have hundreds of virtual machines running on 80 hosts and having more than 80 TB of data under protection by Vinchin Backup and Recovery. Another customer story, Cancer Research UK, Manchester Institute, a world-known institution which covers almost the whole spectrum of cancer research. Their IT infrastructure runs on Overt, and there are more than 100 virtual machines running on the Overt platform to support the daily research activities. Among those virtual machines, there are extra large size virtual machines, which could be a very big challenge to backup and recovery. Before they met Vinchin, they tested several other backup solutions, and none of those products was they've been expected. After testing Vinchin Backup and Recovery, they were surprised by the backup and recovery efficiencies, and also very satisfied with our great support services. So they decided to choose Vinchin as their data protection solution. Here are some more customers of Vinchin from more industries. If you are interested, you can find more customer stories on Vinchin official website. Next, let's see some deployment scenarios. Vinchin Backup and Recovery is based on CentOS Linux. The installation image is provided as an ISO file, which includes a complete CentOS Linux system as well as Vinchin software packages. For installation of the Vinchin Backup and Recovery, it can be either installed on a physical machine or can be installed as a virtual machine on your virtual platform. For the small or medium virtual environment, VM backup restore can be simply running through the local area network. And for the virtual infrastructures with central storage servers, system administrators usually use storage area network to improve data storage efficiency, redundancy, and flexibility. To back up virtual machines within this kind of virtual infrastructure, users can use the existing sign to for the virtual machine backup and recovery. It is also called non-free backup. The benefits of implementing non-free backup and recovery are as follows. The backup and recovery data flow will only go through the sign without passing through the hosts and the production network. It can minimize the impact of the business critical operations. And the highly efficient backup and recovery process can minimize the possible business downtime. And also more backup job sessions can be scheduled for shorter RPOs. And if you don't have a sign, here's another solution. You can set up a backup network to run the backup and restore over a dedicated backup network. It only requires the hypervisor hosts, and the Vinchin backup server has an additional network interface and connected to a separated network switch. This will be enough for you to set up a backup network and minimize the impact of the production network. When backing up large-sized virtual environments, Vinchin backup node can be deployed to scale out the backup infrastructure. This also ensures the scalability of the backup infrastructure for the future growth of your business and virtual platform. All the backup nodes will be managed within the unified web interface of Vinchin backup server. And adding the backup nodes will not require extra license fees and also will not add the complexity of the management and maintenance of your backup infrastructure. In the modern data center deployments, the companies and organizations will usually have a primary site and a DR site taken into consideration. So they can relocate their business operations following a security breach or natural disaster. Well, Vinchin Backup and Recovery can be implemented into this kind of infrastructure to help simplifying the deployments of backup and the disaster recovery operations. This is the offsite DR solution Vinchin offers. Both the primary site and the DR site Vinchin server will maintain an identical version of your primary site backups. If anything happens to destroy your primary site, you'll still have all your data recoverable on the remote DR site. Or you can even take either site as primary and DR sites at the same time. Each site's backup can be copied to the other site for disaster recovery. Backup archive. This feature can be used to archive your backup data to a more cost-effective storage like the cloud object storages for long-term retention and also for cloud DR. Your data which is no longer being used or is inactive but still has business values can be archived. This can make sure the data is still accessible when needed. Taking advantage of the ultimate durability of cloud object storage, including AWS S3, MS Azure Blob, Alibaba OSS, Huawei OBS, Tencent CLS, Wasabi Cloud Storage, Ceph S3, and MinIO. You can archive your inactive data for long-term retention and cloud DR. And also, the backup archive feature can be used to comply with your data security laws and regulations. Okay, next let's check some backup strategies. The first one, forever incremental backup. With forever incremental backup, a full backup will be performed only once at the beginning, and the future backups will only backup the new and the changed data blocks since the last backup. A backup chain will be created. So you can choose to restore the VM status to any of the desired restore points in the backup chain. The number of the restore points in the forever incremental backup chain is fully configurable. It can significantly minimize the storage space usage. As I have just mentioned about the forever incremental backup, which is a very efficient backup strategy, here are two technologies which can further improve the VM incremental backup process: the changed block tracking, as well as the CPT technology. And the other, which is named SpeedKit, is a Vinchin unique feature. CPT is an incremental backup technology provided by the virtualization platforms. If any data blocks of the VM virtual disks were changed since the last backup, change block tracking tags those data blocks and store the information into an index file. When incremental backup begins, CPT will tell Vinchin where to copy those changed data blocks, and Vinchin will only copy those changed data blocks for incremental backup. If the virtual platform itself does not have CPT's functionality, for example, the Zen server version below 7.3, Archway, Overt, and OLVM version below 4.4. You can use the Vinchin unique incremental backup feature SpeedKit as an alternative for efficient incremental backups. Data deduplication and compression. Those features are used for backup data reduction. Deduplication and compression can be used to reduce the backup data and save the backup storage space. There are Vinchin Backup Recovery's built-in functionalities and do not require storage server support. The duplicated and the zeroed data blocks will be all excluded from backing up. By implementing Vinchin's built-in data deduplication and compression, you can achieve at least 50% of data reduction ratio. Except deduplication and compression, there's another Vinchin unique feature, bit detector, which can be used to further reduce the backup size. Actually, it is a feature set which consists of excluding swap file blocks, excluding deleted file blocks, and excluding partition gaps from backing up. Bit detector now works with NTFS file system. Later on, for XT4 and XFS file systems will be supported. Backup data encryption. This feature is designed to protect your VM backup data from unauthorized access. When it's enabled, the VM backup data will be encrypted and then written into backup storage. The encryption is on job basis. All backup data of the VMs included in the same job will be encrypted, and a password can be used to secure the VM backups. When performing a VM restore, no matter full VM restore, granular restore, or instant restore, password verification is always required before restoration. So only the user who has the password can access those data within the backups. And the encryption is valid through the following scenarios, including the local backups, on-site copy to another storage, off-site copy to another Vinchin backup server, on-site and cloud archives, and even detach the backup storage from original Vinchin server and mount the storage to another Vinchin server to import the backup data. In the above scenarios, password will always be required to restore your VM. But the backup data encryption feature is optional. By default, it's disabled. If you want to enable this feature, you can simply turn this option on in the job configurations and give an encryption password. Vinchin offers flexible data retention options for users to define how much data and for how long the data to be reserved in the backup storage. The short-term retention policy helps define for how long the most recent daily backups to be preserved for near-line data recovery needs. The long-term retention policy is based on the famous GFS grandfather, father, son retention policy. It allows users to keep the weekly, monthly, and yearly full backups for much longer time periods. And in addition to the GFS retention, users also have the option to manually mark specific backups to be reserved permanently. Once the backups had been tagged with the forever retention tag, it will not be purged by the short-term or the GFS retention logics. Okay, next, Veeam recovery strategies. Vinchin Backup and Recovery. Vinchin Backup and Recovery's full Veeam restore allows users to easily restore a single or a batch of virtual machines at a time to the original host or to a different host or even to a different cluster. The Veeam status, Veeam CPU number, RAM size, target data store to be restored to, or the target virtual network to be attached to. These options are all configurable. And to accelerate the restore efficiency, users can choose to implement NAND-based or NAND-free-based transmission. And at the same time, can implement multi-threaded transmission to shorter the RTOs. Granular restore. It is a useful feature to restore your virtual machine from file level. In most cases, when a virtual machine needs to be restored, it's because of its files or application data had been accidentally lost. But to restore those files or data by restoring a whole virtual machine is time-consuming and unnecessary. So under such situation, granular restore feature will help. When running a granular restore job, users can browse and download the required files or folders to restore the required data from within Vinchin Backup and Recovery's web console. Granular restore feature works independently without any interaction with the virtual platform. So even if any unexpected disaster happened to destroy the whole virtual infrastructure, you can still retrieve important files and data by using backups on Vinchin Backup and Recovery. Instant restore. It is another important Veeam restore feature which can be used in some emergency situations to bring your Veeam and its business critical services back online in a matter of minutes. To restore a Veeam with instant restore, it only requires a few mouse clicks from Vinchin Backup and Recovery's web console. After that, the Veeam will be booted directly from its backups without transferring backup data to virtual platform data store. The whole process can be done within a minute, and you will get your service back online. During the runtime of the instant restore, the Veeam's newly generated data will be written into a cache area, so the original backup data will remain unmodified. Both the original backup data and the cache data is inside Vinchin Backup's storage repository. So when you wish to migrate all the data back into your virtual platform data store, you can simply schedule a maintenance window during the night or during the weekend by simply using the built-in nav migration feature of Vinchin. You can migrate both the original backup data and the newly generated cache data back into the virtual platform's data store. So throughout the whole process of instant restore and migration, your Veeam is always maintained in a consistent manner. Cross-platform restore. It is also as long as way-to-way virtualization to virtualization. Cross-platform restore enables Vinchin users to migrate Veeams among up to 10 different virtualizations supported by Vinchin Backup and Recovery, including VMware, vSphere, RHV, Avert, OLVM, Citrix Zen Server, XCPNG, OpenStack, Huawei Fusion Compute, H3C, ZStack Cloud, and also Cyber HCI. The working principle of a cross-platform restore is simple. You just connect both the source virtualization platform and the target virtualization platform to Vinchin, perform a backup from the source virtualization, and using the backups to create a restore job to the target virtualization, and Vinchin will automatically complete the cross-platform restore process. The cross-platform restore is very helpful to those hybrid virtualization environments and those virtualization users who want to migrate the production system from one virtualization to another. Virtual full backup. This is a backstage feature which cannot be seen by the users, but it can dramatically increase the virtual machine restore speed with incremental and differential restore points, especially with those backup chains which consists with a series of incremental restore points. With virtual full backup technology, when performing virtual machine restore, the backup chain can be instantly mapped as a full restore point. This mapping will not involve data blocks merging or data blocks reorganizing, and will not consume any extra storage space. When the data transfer begins, only the required data blocks will be directly transferred to the production storage to restore the virtual machine. So as a result, virtual machines restore using non-full restore points is almost the same as using full restore points, and users can choose any desired backup technology, differential backup, incremental backup, or even forever incremental backup, and they don't have to worry about the time it takes for virtual machine restore with different backup technologies. Okay, next, file and application backup. With the above mentioned features, your virtual machine on the virtual platform will be protected by the Veeam backup module. As for the legacy physical file servers, they can be backed up by using the file backup module of Vinchin Backup and Recovery. For Microsoft Windows, the Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, and 10 are all supported. For Windows Server, from version 2003 to 2019 are all supported. As for Linux servers, the mainstream distributions, including Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS Linux, Ubuntu Linux, Debian Linux are all supported. Vinchin Backup and Recovery also provides agent-based application consistent database backup for MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, and PostgreSQL databases. With Vinchin Backup and Recovery's database backup module, users can implement flexible backup strategies to their business-critical database servers and perform point-in-time database restore when needed. And to prevent any data loss caused by storage failure, cyber attacks, and natural disasters, users can also implement on-site and off-site backup copy and the storage protection to guarantee their backup data safety and availability for disaster recovery. And next, I will introduce you some advanced features of Vinchin Backup and Recovery. The first one, storage protection. It's an important feature which can protect your backup data against ransomware and other malwares. Let's see how it works. On Vinchin Backup and Recovery, a daemon process will be applied to monitor the I/O requests from all applications within Vinchin Backup infrastructure, including Vinchin Backup Server and Backup Nodes. Only the I/O requests from Vinchin applications are allowed to write and modify the backup data inside Vinchin Backup storage. The I/O requests from other applications will be all blocked. And to prevent the malwares to disguise as Vinchin applications, the daemon process will also protect Vinchin application binaries. For example, the backup services application, backup copy, and backup archive service applications. So, except Vinchin software, no other software or applications can modify your backups in Vinchin storages. And with storage protection enabled, even the root users of a Vinchin Backup server cannot delete the backup data from the command line interface. So storage protection can also prevent the backup data from accidental or malicious deletion of your backup data. But there's a condition to guarantee the storage protection always works. The storages attached to Vinchin server must be exclusive block devices. Otherwise, there's possibility the malwares might bypass Vinchin to access your data from the storage device level. Multi-tenant. This feature is for managed service providers who want to deliver backup services for their customers using Vinchin Backup and Recovery. The MSPs can use Vinchin Backup and Recovery to deploy a managed backup infrastructure and manage all kinds of resources within the backup infrastructure, and also create unlimited tenant users. Resources including backup nodes, storages, virtual machines, file and database backup agents can be directly allocated to users or user groups, or can be divided into resources groups, then be allocated to the users or user groups. So for the tenant billing, it will be very flexible for the MSPs. Billing can be based on tenant users' monthly or yearly subscription, or based on the amount of usage, which is calculated by how many days the tenant user used the backup services. For monthly and yearly subscription, MSPs can set up the storage and workload unit price. For example, 10 euros per GB storage per month, or 10 euros per Veeam backup per month. For the amount of usage billing method, MSPs can define the unit prices on daily basis, and the total price will depend on how many days the tenant used the backup services. And the billing rules can be configured to use multi-currency and can send notification emails to notify the tenant users on daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. And there will also be billing reports generated for each tenant. Data visualization. It is an advanced feature which can display a real-time overview of the Vinchin Backup and Recovery infrastructure in a single graphic screen. With data visualization, administrators can demonstrate the supervisors or the decision makers about the real-time status of the virtual infrastructure and the backup infrastructure in a conference room or in a command center. Okay, the next, I will briefly make some comparison of Vinchin with Acronis and Vinchin with Veeam backup and replication. As for comparison with Acronis, first, let's take a look at the supported virtualizations. Vinchin, as you can see, Vinchin now supports up to 12 mainstream virtualizations, which I had mentioned earlier. And the backup of the virtual machines of these virtual platforms are all agentless, and backups are all taken from the hypervisor level. There's no need to install any agent inside the virtual platform's guest OS. So this guarantees the backup process will not impact on the services running on the guest OS, because nothing will be installed on the guest OS, and the transmission of the backup data is performed on the hypervisor layer. While for Acronis, they can only support agentless backup for VMware vSphere and Microsoft Hyper-V. For other virtualizations, an agent must be installed on all the virtual machines to enable backup functionalities. This means when backing up the virtual machines using Acronis, the agents installed on the virtual machines will carry out the file system snapshots and also will carry out the data transmission. It will increase the virtual machine workload and will inevitably impact on the virtual machine's business critical operations. It also brings a lot of deployment and maintenance works to the users who choose to use their agent-based backup solution. That's from the virtualization supported virtualization aspect. And here are some feature comparison between Vinchin and Acronis. For V2V, Vinchin supports agentless V2V migration among up to 10 virtual platforms, while Acronis only supports 3 virtual platforms for agentless V2V migration. For other platforms are all agent-based or by creating bootable media to do the migration. It's time-consuming and complicated for users to do the migration this way. And for backup encryption, both Vinchin and Acronis support backup encryption, but there is a restriction on Acronis. If the encryption is enabled, deduplication is not available anymore. While Vinchin does not have this restriction, both deduplication and compression can be used with the encrypted backups. And as for the NAND-free backup, Vinchin supports NAND-free backup for VMware, Archv, Overt, OLVM, Citrix then server, XCPNG, and so on. While Acronis only supports NAND-free backup for VMware. And as previously, I have introduced the importance of NAND-free backup, with which the backup and restore of virtual machines only take place in the storage area network. The data flow even will not pass through the hypervisor. So NAND-free backup is critical to those medium to large virtual virtual environments to guarantee the backup and the restore activities will not affect on their business critical services. As for the forever incremental backup, except Hyper-V, which is currently not supported by Vinchin, all other virtual platforms are supported. While for Acronis, there are also some restrictions on this feature for the instant restore feature. Vinchin now supports up to 10 virtual platforms to perform Veeam instant restore, while Acronis only supports VMware and Hyper-V, and also requires installing an agent on one of the existing guest OS on these two virtual platforms. But Vinchin has no restrictions and conditions. And for data visualization, Vinchin has it enabled free for use on the enterprise edition, while Acronis doesn't have the similar feature. And for licensing, Vinchin offers perpetual and subscription license to suit the customer's needs. Acronis Cyber Protect only supports subscription licensing. And here are the features that Vinchin and Acronis are in common, like the multi-threaded transmission, encrypted transmission, changed block tracking, GFS retention, and also ransomware prevention. Okay, next for Veeam. Let's check from this point of views. Vinchin is based on Linux system, while Veeam is based on Windows. As always, talking about Linux servers and Windows servers, the operating system license and the security problems are always the concern. Vinchin is based on centralized Linux, which does not require a license to deploy and operate on. Veeam is based on Windows, which requires a license to activate the Windows system. As for security, although Linux operating system is not 100% bulletproof, but it has these exploitable security flaws known to the information security world. So it has less security threats than Windows. Well, if you run the backup software on Windows, it's prone to ransomware attacks and other security threats. Backup is as we know, backup is the last line of the defense to your invaluable data assets. So security of the backup solution itself must be an important concern. And as I know, there have been some cases that ransomware not only encrypted files, but also deleted the Veeam backups. There are instances. And on the other hand, Vinchin software is web-based, which means you can access the web management console from any operating system with a web browser. But Veeam uses Windows-based interface, which is hard of use, and at the same time, users cannot access from non-Windows systems. As for the number of supported virtualizations, Vinchin supports up to 12 virtual platforms, while Veeam supports only 4. For those hybrid virtualization environments, Vinchin could be the best unified data protection solution. While for Veeam, users might have to deploy multiple backup solutions, which is very complicated to operate and to maintain. The other most important point of view is the support services. Vinchin provides direct support to all customers all over the world. Customers can request for support with multiple choices, including instant messaging, email, phone calls, remote desktop sessions, and so on. The average response time is less than 30 minutes. As for Veeam, I'm not sure if they provide direct support or not, but if a customer needs help, he has to submit a ticket on Veeam website and wait for a few days or even more than a week to get a response from Veeam. That's from the support service point of view. And here are some features comparison between Vinchin and Veeam. Granular restore. The granular restore on Vinchin, it works internally within Vinchin Backup and Recovery, which does not need the virtual platform support. While with Veeam, if it's a Windows virtual machine, Veeam can process the Windows backup internally without support of the virtual platform. If it's a Linux virtual machine, then it's another story. Veeam needs to create an FLR appliance on the virtual platform to restore the Linux virtual machine's files. So if something happens to the virtual platform on which Veeam cannot create and run the FLR appliance, granular restore of Linux virtual machine will not work. That's a restriction of granular restore on Veeam. As for instant restore, we had received a complaint from many customers that Veeam will not unmount the NFS storage after instant restore. The NFS storage, which is only used for instant restore, will always be mounted to the virtual platform, which caused some problems of the virtual environments. And it's been very annoying to users. But for Vinchin, the instant restore, after the instant restore is completed, the NFS storage will be automatically unmounted. So it will not cause any problems to the customer's virtual platform. And for V2V migration, Vinchin supports up to 10 virtual platforms, while with Veeam, only between 2 virtual platforms. And for SpeedKit, Vinchin users can use it as a CBT alternative feature on RHV, Overt, OLVM, and then server older versions for efficient incremental backups. So Veeam cannot run fast incremental backup on RHV older versions. For non-free backup, Vinchin supports run non-free backup on VMware vSphere, Zen Server, RHV, Overt, OLVM, XCPNG, ZStack Cloud, and so on. But Veeam only can run non-free backup with VMware and Hyper-V. RHV is not supported. As for backup over storage network, it is supported with Vinchin. On Vinchin, it is supported with VMware, then server, XCPNG, RHV, Overt, OLVM, Cypher HCI, Stack Cloud, H3C, and so on. For Veeam, this feature is not supported. And here are some features that Vinchin and Veeam are in common, like bit detector, multi-threaded transmission, encrypted transmission, GFS retention, and ransomware prevention. Those features are in common. And here I'd like to introduce you some new features which will be available in the new version of Vinchin Backup and Recovery to be released in December this year. For Microsoft Hyper-V, we will implement a lot of enhancements, including forever incremental backup support, RCT support, and cross-platform restore support, and so on. For cross-platform restore feature, we will implement virtual machine drivers, automatically optimization, and some other improvements. This will greatly improve the efficiency of the virtual machine cross-platform restore. And in this new version, we will implement backup auto verification of VMware virtual machines. There will be automatic verification of the VMware virtual machine backups, and like the VM screenshots or some other reports will be automatically generated and sent to the users to prove that the backups are intact. And for the enhancements of file backup, which improve the file backup speed by at least 10 times. And after the enhancements, Vinchin can support backing up million level massive small files. And for the backup of NAS servers, it will also be available in this new version. And for the agent-based physical server backup, it will allow backing up the entire Windows and the Linux operating system systems running on the physical or virtual environments. And for the continuous data protection, CDP, this feature will allow real-time backup of the Windows and the Linux servers on the volumes level to achieve near zero RPO. It's suitable for backing up those business critical systems to guarantee zero data loss. And except these backup and restore features, in the new version, we also optimized the web console and the management of the file and the database backup agents. And there are more innovative new features in this version. So I'm not going to name them all. Okay, the next is for the lab demonstration of Vinchin software. So my colleague Neil will guide you through some of the feature logics and how they work on Vinchin software. So Neil.
Okay, thanks, Hector. And I will share my screen. Okay. So Can you, I have shared my screen, and here is our Vinchin Backup Recovery login page. And we click login, and here is our main page of our Vinchin Backup and Recovery. You can see in the left, here is a main menu list, and on the right is you can review the details of this Vinchin Backup Recovery. First, we can see here is a monitoring center. It includes jobs, alerts, logs, and reports. And the next is our VM backup. It includes virtual machines, backup, restore, instant restore, granular restore, backup data, and virtual infrastructure, and also backup proxy. And here is our database backup, file backup, backup copy, and backup archive. And the next is our resources to manage the backup storage here. And the last is our system settings. Then first of all, when we need to creating a backup job, we need to add a virtualization platform. We can redirect to the VM backup, click on the virtual infrastructure. Here, as you can see, I have already added many virtual platforms. We can click add button and select the virtual platform you want to add and input the IP and the username and password here. After that, we need to add backup storage to store the backup data. Then we can redirect to the resources, click on the storage. Also, I have already added the cloud object storage and also iSCSI, local disk, and the offsite storage. We can also click the add button, and then we can select the storage type. In Vinchin, we can support the local disk, local directory, logic value, also fiber channel, iSCSI, NFS share, safe share, and also the cloud object storage. For the cloud object storage, Hector just mentioned before that we can support the Azure, Alibaba Cloud, Huawei Cloud, and so on. So after we add the storage here, we can start to create a backup job. Let's redirect to the VM backup and click the backup to redirect to the backup page. You can see in the here we have 4 steps to create a new backup job. The first step is to select the backup source. We can take a VMware, for example. We select the virtual machine, and then it will display in here, and click next. To select the second is to select the backup destination to store the backup data. And the third is the backup strategies. In the backup strategies, you can schedule a full backup in weekly, and you can select the incremental backup as daily here. Also, we supported the differential backup. After we set the schedule of backing up, we can set the speed controller. That means we can limit the transfer speed while in backing up. The next is our data storage policy. In here, you can just enable the data application and the data compression. Also, we have data encryption. You can give a password here. That means when you use this backup data, you will need to verify your password here. And then is our retention policy. For now, we have a short-term retention and long-term retention policy. In short-term retention, we can set the retention mode as number of restore points and number of days. And we can also set the restore points, how many response we need to keep. And by click on the GFS retention, we can set the weekly retention, monthly retention, and also yearly retention. In advanced strategies, it includes our unique features called bit detector that by enable these features, we can exclude the swipe files and exclude unpartitioned spaces. And then we reduce to the transmission strategy. Here we can set the transfer network through the line or line free. Also for the VMware, we have hot add. And also we have an individual strategy here. And after we set the strategies, we can click next button to the review and confirm page. It will show all the configurations in one page. After that, we click the submit. It will redirect to the jobs page here in pending status. And we can click options to manually start the full backup and incremental backup. Okay, so the next, I will introduce our granular restore. First, for the granular restore, there is a situation you want restore some important files in the virtual machine, not the whole virtual machine. So you can use a granular restore. And I will select the backup data here and click OK. Then we'll redirect to the jobs page. We can manually start the job. And we can by clicking the job name to see the details. You can see here is a run log, and in right is a file system. It's a Linux file system, so that we can only download some files in the backup data, and we can just download in the laptop and restore the files or folders to the target virtual machine. So you want to restore the whole virtual machine. So here is our granular restore. And next, I will introduce our instant restore. With this function, we can bring the virtual machine back online in minutes. I will also use this backup data to do an example. After we select the restore point, we can select the target host that we want to restore to. I will select our Oracle Linux Virtual Manager. After we select the target host, we can configure the instant restore virtual machine. It includes configure the name, CPU sockets, and write size. And also you can enable the power on the VM after restoring options. And we click OK. It will create an instant restore job. And also we can manually start this job and clicking the job name to see the details. In the run log, you can see Vinchin is creating NFS storage for the instant restore. Let's redirect to the Oracle Linux Virtual Manager. Okay, in the storage domains, we can see here is this NFS storage mounted to the target host, and then we redirect to the virtual machines. You can see here is a instant restore virtual machine have been powered on, and it will pull up the production environment in few minutes, and you will redirect to the Vinchin. You can see the instant restore job have already success. Okay, let's back to the jobs page. After instant restore is running, we can click options to migration. In the instant restore, you can see this moment, the data is still inside the Vinchin backup storage. So we need to schedule a maintenance window during the night or during the weekend to do the live migration, to migrate the virtual machine back to the production storage. So we click the migration here, and also need to select the target host. Also, we can configure the virtual machine and set the power on. Also, we can transfer through the line, and after that, we can set the disk where it is stored, and also the virtual network. After that, we click OK, and you can see the in the job details, it will change to the migration job, live migration job. You can see here is the instant restore virtual machine name and the live migration virtual machine name. There are 3 steps in live migration. The first is to transfer backup data to the target virtual machine, and then during the instant restore virtual machine running, it will generate some cache data. Also, it will transfer to the live migration virtual machine, and then it will power off the instant restore virtual machine, and some final data will also transfer to the instant restore virtual machine. So let's redirect to the Oracle Linux Virtual Manager. You can see here the migration have a success, and the migration virtual machine have already power on. So this is the whole process of our instant restore and the live migration. After that, I will introduce our database backup. For the database backup, it requires install the agent to the target server. For example, here is a database backup, and by clicking the backup agent here, it requires to add agent. Here you will input the IP address here, and then will authentication the database. For example, here I use a SQL Server, and we are secreted by the SQL Server account or the Windows application. And after that, we need to click Options License to give a database license here. And then we can do the backup job for the SQL Server. For the SQL Server database, we can backup the database level. For example, I just backup this database. And then also it have 4 steps. The second is to select the backup destination. The third is a general strategy. We can schedule a full backup, also differential backup and the log backup. So for the data storage policy, we have a data duplication and a data compression. Also the transmission strategies and other advanced strategies of SQL Server. And then it's an overview of the database backup job, and click Submit. Here is our database backup job. And for the database restore, here I have I will also introduce in 4 steps. Is the first is select the restore point. We do have a full backup and a log backup data. So I select the log backup data and then click Next to select the target you want to restore to, and then click Next to see to the third steps. We can set as a override original database or create a new database. So if we choose the override or to the original database, for the log backup, we do have a rollback time. So we can select the rollback time here, and also have a speed controller here, and click Next and do the database restore job. After that, I will introduce our file backup. For the file backup, it also requires to install a file backup agent in the target host or the target server. After that, we can manage the agent here and also in backup, we have 4 steps. The first is select the backup source. Here is a Windows. So we select the files or folders by clicking the Add button. And here is a backup list. And click Next to have set a schedule. For the file backup, we can also support the full backup, incremental backup, and the differential backup. And then is advanced strategies to set the backup destination and the retention policy and the transmission strategy. So click Next is a overview of this backup job, and click Submit button to create the file backup job here. And then if we want to restore the file backup, we can also easily select the backup restore point and select the folders or files you want to backup or you want to restore, and then click Next. For the restore destination, you can set as restore to the original host, or you can also set restore to the different server. For example, here we can restore to the different file backup server. And also for the restore path, you can select the to the original path or the manually select the path here. After that, you can set the mode as a once-off restore, and then you can have an overview of the file recovery job. Okay, so after the backup, let's redirect to the backup copy. For the backup copy, we can copy we also have 4 steps. The first is select the copy source. For the source type, here we can select the VM backup data, file backup data, and database backup data. So we can copy all the backup data to the DR site. For example, we select the VM backup data here, and then in the second step, we can schedule set the schedule in daily, weekly, and monthly. And then it selects the copy destination where the copy data stored. You can see it as offsite storage and set the offsite Vinchin server. And here is the offsite storage. And also for the transmission strategies here, and also the retention policy. And click next is the overview of the backup copy job. And click submit. We'll redirect to the jobs page. And for the backup archive, we need to first add in the resources storage, we need to add a cloud object storage first. After that, you can see here we have added cloud object storage. After that, we can do the create a archive job to archive the backup data to the cloud object storage, for example. Also have 4 steps in creating the archive job. The second is the archive as scheduled weekly, and here is to select the archive destination. We select the cloud object storage, and then click next is a review and confirm of this job. And then let's in the system, you can see here is system settings, talent, billing, and user management, and also system license. We can, by clicking the talent here, we can add the talent, the MSP here. And the first, we have to create a talent. Okay, I will take here is input the company name and admin, and also the password. Also, you can fill the email here. After that, I have created the talent here, and we can click the talent name. You can see here is the talent details. You can see the first is the resources and the basic info of this talent. And in here is the advanced permission. In is in general, you can set the license mode as a storage quota or the workload quantity. You can set the virtual machine file backup agent, database agent number in here. And also you can set the specific quota here. And also in restore, you can set the specific host that talent can be used. Also in the billings, okay, let's wait a second. Also, okay, you select the host and also the storage for this talent. And in the billings, we can set the billing rules in the left menu. We can click the billing button, and here we can add the billing rules by clicking the add button. And then we can select the billing type as monthly subscription, yearly subscription, and amount of usage. If we select the monthly subscription and we use euro as a currency, and we select the billing unit as a storage of usage. Also, for example, €1 per GB per month. Also, we can enable the notification to send the email notification in daily, weekly, and monthly or yearly here. Okay, after we add the billing rules, we need to add the talent I have already created to this billing rule. So we select this talent and set the storage usage and set the subscription of like 6 months and click OK here. It will show the I will redirect to the talent page, and here the billing is enabled and the billing rule is here. So you can see the resources is 0. So the next step, we need to assign the resources to the target talent. We can click the user management. In users, you can see that this admin is belong to the company talent. We can click the add resources here to add the virtual machine to this talent. And also we need to add the backup node to this talent. And also we need to assign a storage for this talent. So after that, let's redirect to the talent page, and by clicking the talent name, you can see in the resources, we have assigned 10 virtual machines to this talent, and 1 backup node, 1 storage resources to this talent. And here in the bottom of this page, you can see the resources of the details of these resources, the Veeam virtual machine name, and the other details information here. And let's redirect to the I will share the let's redirect to the talent page here. Here it's the I'm logging to the talent, and it's the same like the admin Vinchin backup server, and talent can use Veeam backup, database backup, and file backup. Also, he can manage the information of its own. So that is our MSP features. Let's redirect to the admin's page. And in the right of this page, it's data visualization. By clicking this icon, we can redirect to the data visualization to monitor all the jobs and the status of Vinchin backup server. And so my demonstration is done. If you have any questions, you can please type in the chat group, and also I will answer you.
Hello, Neil. Hello.
Yes, Hector.
This is Hector. Just now, Alexei asked to show the data duplication and the compression ratio. So could you please go to the history job list and show the data reduction ratio?
Okay, so
No,
this
you just show the backup size, you can use this one.
Yes, here.
Just go to the
history job here, and we set as a incremental in data size. It's have a 2, and the right hand side is almost at least 900 megabit.
Maybe you could choose full backup size.
Okay.
That's a real a file server virtual machine running in our data center, and the total size of the virtual machine is like 2.4 TB, and the data size, the actual data size is 400 GB, and the written size of the data is around 243 GB. So you can see the compression and the deduplication ratio is very high.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for the great presentation and detailed overview and answered all the questions. So the session, we can call it a day, and thank you very much. Спасибо всем. Мы будем продолжать завтра коммерческое мероприятие, которое мы ждем на партнеров, на коммерческие вопросы. И, соответственно, приглашайте своих продакт-менеджеров, продавцов. И спасибо всем за вопросы, за интерес и то, что остались с нами целых почти 2 часа. Спасибо. Всем до свидания.
Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay, thank you all, dear friends. We shall have a nice day.